So here is another example of a dynamic website. So what we are going to do is we are going to have a look at this site, how it is structured, where is this data coming from, and do we need to really use Selenium or any kind of rendering. So if you look at this site, it's a directory which has lot of members, and if we go down, let's look for pagination. There is no pagination. So here we have infinite. There we go. So this is infinite scroll, a dynamic website, right? So the immediate impulse would be to directly start Selenium. But wait, let's open a network tab in the developer toolbox. So I've just pressed F12 to open the developer toolbox, and I'm going to network. Make sure that preserve log and disable cache is enabled, and simply reload the site. And let's have a look at what is being loaded. So typically I start by looking at XHR. So if there is something which is off the charts, and here I literally mean off the charts, as you can see that this request, this waterfall, in the waterfall column, you can see that this is a huge bar, and this one is 1.9 MB transfer over network, and the resource size is 16 MB. So this is actually 16 MB, and which was probably compressed using gzip or one of those methods, and 1.9 MB was transferred. So this is a huge file. So what it is doing here, why will you have a 16.8 MB file in your website? So I need to look at this particular file. So I'm just going to right click and open in new tab. So this is JSON, and what we want to make sure here is that no further requests are being sent to load more JSON. So I'm just going to scroll down so that this scroll is triggered, and we can see there is nothing in XHR. If we go to all, we have one PNG, one SVG. So that means that all the data is right here in this JSON. I think for this discovery alone, I can ask you for a sub. So let me bring up my terminal here, and I'm going to install the Python console. So this Python console is very boring and plain and dull. So instead what I like to use is IPython. It's completely optional. So it's very similar to Jupyter Notebook. It gives some good features. Anyway, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to import the request library, and I'm going to import JSON library. So these are the two libraries that we need to work with. So I'm going to take this URL, okay, and let's call request.get method. So request.get method, and pass in this argument, okay, and we are going to store this response into a variable. Now let's look at the status code, and we have the status code as 200. So that means that we successfully got a response, okay. Let's look at the length of this response. So as you can see that this is a huge chunk of text. So let's look at first 100 characters, and yes, we have JSON. The only thing is we need to get rid of these backslashes and this quotation mark here, and basically convert it into a proper Python dictionary. So what we are going to do is we are going to call response.json. So if I just execute this method, immediately it will fill up my screen. So what I want to do is I want to see if it is actually returning this dictionary, and it is not returning the dictionary. So if it is returning a string, let's look at first 100 characters. Okay, so it got rid of all those backslashes, but still one more level of parsing is required so that it is actually converted into a proper Python dictionary object. So now what we are going to do is we are going to call json.load s for string, and this time we are going to provide response.json. So effectively what we are doing here is we are calling json.loads 2 times nested. So let's look at the type. Are we getting the dictionary or list? Yes, we got the dictionary. So this is our data. So let's store this in a variable. Oopsie. So data equals this. Okay, clear everything, and let's look at the keys. So as we observed earlier, this result message will contain the number of records found, and this result data is going to be the actual place where all the results are stored. But this I'm not going to look at it directly. I'm going to check the type. Now we know that we are working with large files, so we should be careful of what we are printing. So it's a list. So let's look at a 0. In fact, let's look at the type of the first element, and it's a dictionary. So let's look at the keys. So institute ID, contact ID, customer type. Okay, cool. So this looks like a valid data, so we can have a look at it. And there we have it. We have the first customer which is available. So all we need to do now is we need to find a quick way to export this JSON into a CSV file. So the library that we are going to work with is Pandas. So Pandas is such a wonderful library. So Pandas work based on data frames. So what we are going to do is we are going to call pd.dataframe, and it needs one input. And the good thing is it can take dictionary as an input. And we have this dictionary stored in data. We can just pass in this dictionary and it will create the data frame. If we look at just the head, that is the top 5 values, we can see that there are these values, but we have only 2 columns. The data is actually inside result data. Again, there are multiple ways how you want to pass in this. The simplest one is just extract this. And now if we look at df.head, we have all the data correctly. We can call df.shape. So it's an attribute, not a method. And it will give you exactly how many rows and columns you have. So you have 20,000 rows and 30 columns. The final step, we need to convert it into a CSV or Excel. So it's very simple. So we can simply call df.toCSV, give it a file name, and we'll set the index to false so that this 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 is not exported, and that's all. So that's it. Let's exit this and open beer.csv, and there we have it. So we have all 20,500 results here. That's all for today's video. I'll see you in the next one.